You know, we're working in the right direction.
Please keep me up to date.
I will. I haven't. I'll talk to you after this. Actually, I'm going to need to get a bite to eat first, and then we'll have a little talk, and I'll discuss some of the other things we're doing in Dev.
Know why, with all the other members of the Dev team knowing about this, why LGG was the only one that came forward?
Well, because this is something that we were trying to fix internally. And we weren't. It was coming to the point where it was pretty obvious it wasn't going to get fixed internally, so that's what led to that. People have to understand things are going to work differently now. It's not going to be like the way it was when Fractured was running things, I know it's really hard to believe, right? Because it went on for so long that way. And it's probably
like
hard for
6
Greg
months with the EMKDU. I mean,
yeah, I know.
And LGG being the only one that came forward finally. I mean, how does that look to the SL population?
I know how it looks. It looks terrible, and it should look terrible, and it is terrible. And I'm certainly not going to.
Well, not only that, LGG coming forward and being punished for coming forward.
Yeah.
But I for one
need
to be the scapegoat for it.
She's always had hope they would get fixed inside, so I respect that. That's what I tried to do as well. The moment I found out, I didn't come forward with it because it'd be much better if we could just get these fixed internally. And I think that's kind of why I was the only one. I guess I realized before other people that this was not a thing that's going to get fixed.
It just seems like to me their new restructuring pretty much allows for everybody in the team to read the code. So in order for something that just happened to happen in the future, it would have to be pretty much 12 or 15 people saying, "Oh yeah, that's okay, we'll put that in." I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, and that's what I mean.
Because there's ways right now where a developer can go behind everybody else's back, like they did with me. The same issue.
Well, they can't.
That can't happen now, though.
They could before, but they can't now.
That's the critical problem, Doc. It still can.
How can it still happen?
You can have it
because Fox is there.
The final binary can easily add in code and change it, and there's no way to detect that. The code that everybody can see is going to be clean, but the code that actually gets built into the binary can have something that only one person can see.
We're going to be doing MD5s again on the binaries.
And the person who makes the MD5 then, the MD5.
That really has to do with who your building engineer turns out to be.
That would be me, probably, or Arabella, if we can teach her how, or Tanya, for example.
If it's just you or Tanya or anybody who hasn't seriously screwed over people before, then that's perfect.
Well, that's what I'm saying, Greg. That's what I'm saying. We're really going in the right direction. I know it's really hard for you to believe, and you can't see it because you're not on the team right now. But
it's something you want everybody else to see as well. I mean, I don't know why
it's the same thing
or anybody else.
Greg is putting to you the same thing I put to him way back last summer, and that had to do with the build. And I had asked Greg, I said, do you oversee the build? Do you, and he said, yes, I oversee the build. And he was very adamant about that nothing could go in behind his back. So I wasn't actually surprised, unfortunately, when I saw his blog post. And so that's one of the problems I still see is that you let somebody who is really very conscientious about this, and you make excuses about, well, we thought we took care of it. If you have a breach of privacy, you should let the people know that you had a breach of privacy instead of keeping it quiet for 6 months. It's just it's unprofessional. And the thing is, you are big enough. You've got a big enough user base that it's really important for the users to be aware of that. That type of thing.
Yep. And that's what I mean. There's a lot of tough questions, and as far as trust goes, and I think aside from what we're doing, and we're still looking for other suggestions. Greg gave me some suggestions. We're putting those suggestions in place. But in the end, it's going to be time. Times, I can tell you that till I'm blue in the face of all the things we're doing, and I don't expect you to trust me. It's going to take time.
It's going to take time.
Exactly.
People to see that you guys are really
It does
serious.
not prove anything. Time is 6 months that gone by without anything being seen. Time is not acceptable
Right,
at all.
but Greg,
You guys
we're
have
not
to do
allowing that to
something
happen
better.
now in our process. It won't happen.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about LOKDU? About the history of this file?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, I understand that it's closed source, and from what I heard, those two guys that you got rid of, they purchased a license or something from that company that makes that proprietary code. Now, can Emerald turn around and purchase a new license from them in any way to get that open sourced in
I'm not
some
sure.
way?
I heard through, and it's purely a rumor, that Luna Lab is looking into some other way of allowing third-party viewers to use KDU. That's all I know. It's just a rumor.
Can we just not include that file and do it the old-fashioned way where it has to download it directly from Luna Lab servers?
No, according to that rumor as well, and it comes from a very good source, but it's not official, is that download is going to be removed, so it won't be available.
Okay, so what you're saying is in the newer release from Luna Labs client, they're not going to include that also?
The new release, they're using LGPL, and from what I understand, I'm not a licensing expert by any means, but from what I understand, that you can use LLKDU. Actually, I don't even know if it uses LLKDU. I think it uses something else. But I think you're allowed to. Greg would probably be able to answer that better than me, even. It's a tough question. I can tell you that as far as Emerald goes, we're not allowed to use it.
Okay.
At least
so
not right now.
So that's one proprietary piece of code now. Is the same going to apply for SL Voice?
Don't know. We asked them about that because, Voice is a closed source, and they said that they told us for ourselves anyways that we can continue doing so. So it's a bit of a contradiction in terms, in a way, but I'm not sure. I mean, these are all questions best asked at, somebody's office hour, a Lyndon's office hour.
Yeah, right.
What about
I think they'd
OTR?
answer it.
Pardon?
What about OTR?
Off the record text encryption.
Yeah.
That is allowed. We are allowed to do that because it's user encrypted. We're not actually encrypting it. The user decides to encrypt it. So OTR is allowed to remain.
That is open source. I mean, people can look at the code for that.
I'm pretty sure it is.
That's open source.
Yeah.
That's open source.
Okay, I thought it was, but I haven't looked at it in a while. So.
The keys are randomly generated on each side, so there's never the same copy of the key, so no one can have your key. It's completely generated.
I'm just curious, are the other third-party viewers going to be held to the standard of not being able to use KDU files?
Well, that goes to what I was saying, that's the rumor.
Right.
They don't use it anymore.
Well, my other question would be, how, with the new Viewer 2.0, I heard they're using a newer KDU file. Are they not going to distribute that to third parties, or not allowed third parties to use it since it's a licensed, proprietary code?
I don't know. That's something you have to ask Luna Lab, because from what I understand, they're having meetings in regards to KDU specifically.
It must be nice to get them to answer your questions.
Yeah, well, they don't know the answer yet because they haven't decided, I guess. And once they've decided, I'm sure they're going to let us know. And it'll probably be on the third-party viewer policy in regards to that change. So, and I see Katie asked me something. By not allowed to use it, do you mean that if you copied LLKDU into the Emerald folder, that it would not use it? No, it would use it. You can. I'm not going to encourage you to use the MKDU or LLKDU, but if you dropped it in there, it's going to work.
That's all I wanted to know.
Okay, so we're all aware of that Fractured basically has taken the hit for the all the malicious coding that was basically put into Emerald over the past while. What, if any, was Fox's involvement in any of that?
Fox he's the one that did Fractured had Zvagoth do the coding initially on KDU, and then it was determined that it was discovered that it was showing paths on Linux and Mac, so Fox went in and changed that so it wasn't. And then it was determined that it's showing paths on Windows. It was known that it was showing paths on Windows, apparently. but expected that people would install to their program files, and therefore they wouldn't show any kind of personal data. But if you install to your desktop, like I do, for example, it shows your computer username. So then, and that was, when that came to light, that's when, Greg, all the stuff went on with Greg mostly, when it got really heated. And then shortly after that, it was completely removed from EMKDU, and then we were told that we can't use the EMKDU even if it's clean now. So, as far as malicious code, I don't know of any malicious code that Fox has done in Emerald specifically. I think the EMKDU, as far as I know, is the only thing that he's done maliciously in the viewer.
Good qualifier.
Keep in mind,
Emerald.
the data mining stuff was not part of Emerald. The DDoS wasn't even part of code per se. It was done on an HTML page.
Well, about the data mining, I mean, I don't know if people realize this or not, but every major computer-run business does data mining. Linden Labs does data mining. When you sign the terms of service with Linden Labs, you give them permission to mine data from you. Every company has that in their terms of service. It's not like this was a big major scandal.
This is more than that. These people were actually trying to find real-life identities and addresses. They were going far above
If they did that, the FBI would be at their house right now, I promise you. I work in the security field. I know what I'm talking about when it comes to privacy protection and people getting arrested for committing computer crimes. Trust me, if they stole people's real identities, they would be in prison.
I'm not going to justify the data mining in the slightest way, but I'll point out that Google Analytics, if you own a website and you have Google Analytics, it gives you information geographically. It gives you, unbelievable amounts of information about your users.
It
has all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that the data mining was okay. It was certainly not okay with me. It was certainly not okay with Greg either. Regardless of what he was using it for, or the project he was trying to do, I think if he wanted to do that, he should have left the team and done that on his own, because it got associated with Emerald and it shouldn't have.
Or they could have just put it in the terms of service like every other company. I'm not saying it was right. I'm just saying if they knew how many companies were doing it, they probably wouldn't be logging onto the internet ever again.
Can I ask one more question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the AMKDU. I understood that it baked an encrypted code onto your avatar's body texture when it was baked. Now, who was supposed to have the accessibility to read that code on someone's radar?
I believe it was Fractured, Fox, and possibly Skills.
Okay, so in order for someone to read that code, they're going to have that special client to read that code, right?
Once it was encrypted, although Hazim managed to break the encryption on it and was able to see it.
Okay, let's say, for example, this never happened, this meeting, everything, nobody found out about it. Would there have been a private viewer out for people to purchase, to read?
No, highly unlikely.
No, but I've heard rumors as of late that they're going to be changing the license, so technically third-party viewers will be illegal to sell.
That's
true?
Possible. That may be going along the lines of LGPL. I'm not sure. Like I say, I'm not a licensing. In fact, I'm a noob when it comes to licensing. But that's a possibility. Frankly, I don't think a viewer should be sold, no matter what. If it's made with open source code and it's GPL or made with GPL code, then it shouldn't be sold.
Well, what I've been hearing
I know
is,
that encryption wasn't the intention. It was more along the lines of they wanted to discourage other users or other viewers from using.
Okay, but let's look at this different. A lot of people are liking that idea. A lot of people that like to mod and build in Second Life, that say, for example, they've bought an item, and it is a copy bot viewer, but they're using it legitimately to, say, download their skin, touch it up, re-upload it because they've purchased it. That's why I believe these people are looking into these private viewers now that, basically they're going to take your source code, they're going to make some modifications to your source code, of Emerald. It's going to look like Emerald. It's going to feel like Emerald.
Oh,
The
those
server's
are
gonna
already
see it's
out.